Welcome to Solo Journeys podcast, where every journey starts with a single step. Episode 3, Solo Raving. I'm your host Sashi, and this podcast is all about solo journeys and its philosophy. In today's episode, I'm talking to my Airbnb guest Linda from sunny California. Linda came to visit Zurich Open Air for the first time. And what I found special about Linda's solo traveling style is that she is primarily traveling to festivals and raves, and she discovers new cultures through festival experience. Linda got some insights to share.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm from Southern California, born and raised. I am based in San Diego, California. I am 32 years old, and for my day job, I work in the clinical trials pharmaceutical industry. But on the down low and like my real life, I'm actually more of a DJ, an aspiring DJ, and an electronic music producer. What brought me to Zurich is half of my family, our heritage is from Germany. So my grandma speaks German, and I learned German when I was younger, but like never really used it. Oh, it'd be nice to go to like a country where there's like German speaking and like, you know, there's like the German language, and it's like a more immersive culture, I guess. I was actually coming here for Zurich Open Air. I was planning to go to the UK to attend Creamfields, and then it was like, I had to like break it down with logistics and everything. And then so it was like either Zurich or you're going to like the UK. So it's like, I've already been to the UK. I've never been to Switzerland. So this gave me a reason to come to Zurich. So, you know, and I wanted to see what it was like here because everyone tells me that Switzerland's such a beautiful country. So it's just like, you know, it's just like a very Instagrammable.
Instagrammable. Nice way to describe Switzerland. I like it. So, how did your solo raving journey begin?
I feel like in my age, like around my age range, everyone's getting married, having kids, or just having way more life priorities. There was this point where a lot of my friends were like aging out the party phase, like, you know, they're more like settling into their lives and careers. And like for me, I always felt like for a long time, I always had to go with somebody, either with a partner or a friend or a group of friends. A lot of times, because of that feeling, I feel like I would miss out on a lot of things in the past 10, 15 years because I was waiting for somebody to go with me, or like because I was like too afraid to go by myself. 2 years ago, I really wanted to go to Miami. That was one of my top cities I wanted to go. And there was this big electronic music festival named Ultra. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Ultra is a big electronic brand. Miami is their home city. So they have it in Australia, Europe, like just random places all over the world. So I wanted to go because the lineup was so good. And like a lot of my favorite artists were playing there. And nobody really wanted to go with me. Or I think people kind of did, but they were like, I'm too broke, I can't afford it, or I can't go to Miami, like I won't fit in. For me, it was like, I really wanted to go, so I bought a ticket, and my thinking at the time was like, buy a ticket, figure everything out later. I ended up having the best time in my life doing that, and it brought me to Miami.
But what was this like? How did you overcome this fear of going alone? Because this is the biggest thing usually that stops people from doing things on their own, like traveling or going to the party. Was it this craving for this good music, or what was that?
For me, definitely, it was a mixture of both. Like, I was talking to a friend who told me, like, you should buy this ticket. You've been waiting the past month or two. You need to buy it, and you really want to go, and you should just go by yourself. You'll figure it out later. The month before, I went to a music festival in San Diego, which is like where I live, and I went with a friend, and it was a 2-day festival, and we went together on the first day, and then the second day, she couldn't make it out to the festival. She didn't wear earplugs, so she was kind of like having tinnitus and like just, you know, loud music, and it's making her not feel like good. So I was like, well, I don't want to miss out because one of my favorite artists is playing that night, and I know the city, it's where I live, it's easy. I know how to get to and from the venue. And it was like one of those moments where it's like, I can do this by myself, in a bigger festival scale, right? Better to go by yourself than it is to miss out because you were too busy waiting for somebody to go with. I'm also like a very hyper independent person to my core. Living by yourself for me wasn't hard. It's like I can do this also by myself. So I think it's just like me, like I'm always throughout my whole life is trying to do things to make myself happy. So I feel like I think that was what it was just like, well, what's going to make me happy? Like this music makes me happy. So like I want to go and enjoy and have a good time and then meet a lot of other people that are maybe in the same interests, So
what is the message here? Do what you like to do.
Yes.
Do things that make you happy. Yeah. How many events in how many countries did you visit already?
So far, it's been 2, but I think for festivals and events, I don't know how many I've been to in the past 10, 15 years. I've been going to shows and stuff since I was like a teenager. I'm surprised I haven't lost my hearing like early on, But as far as going to like another country for like raving, I've only done 2 so far. So I've been to Canada. I recently went to Canada and like Vancouver, British Columbia, which is the west coast of Canada. And then this is like, I'm here in Zurich right now. This is my second like abroad festival that I've attended. And I do see myself going to more, to be honest. So,
do you have anything planned, like fixed in the nearest future?
For the U.S. stateside, I am going to New York for a long weekend, so I'm going in 2 weeks. I'm going for a show. I'm a big fan of Mal P. He's got a show going on in Brooklyn, and I think it's under the Brooklyn Bridge. They call it Under the K Bridge, so I think it's one of their first events for Under the K, so I'm really excited for that. As far as international, I have the Netherlands in October. So mid-October, I'm going to be there probably about 10 days or so. Amsterdam has always been like one of those cities I've always wanted to visit as well. It's the mecca of electronic music. So it's like, I don't know if anyone knew that, but it is. And but every year in October, they hold the Amsterdam Dance Event. I would say it's a gathering of a lot of electronic music enthusiasts, industry folks, a lot of DJs and producers and artists come. It's basically everyone's coming to this event, and there's events and parties all over the city for like 5 days or something. So I'm going to attend Amsterdam Dance Event, and and then I am gonna go for some music producer workshops there. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited to attend some of the networking events that I got invited to. It's kind of like similar to Miami Music Week. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's kind of the same thing every year in March. A lot of people in the industry come together to do shows, networking. It's a great like networking time or place to be, especially for someone like me that's like trying to gain more connections in the industry. Excited to see like more of the city, more of the culture as well, and I get to hopefully see more of the Netherlands. That's what I have lined up for at least until October. November, I think, is going to be a time when I'm not really planned anything. I think it's a chill time. And then December, I have a New Year's festival in my home city, San Diego.
So you mentioned that in Amsterdam and Netherlands, you will see your favorite artist, Mel P. Mel P. See how informed I am about all this raving culture? Yeah. No, but I'm curious. So how many times did you see him performing?
Oh my God. Okay, I think I've seen him like 6 times now. There's another artist that I've seen over 20 times. John Summit. So I'm used to like his American crowds, used to like his Miami crowds, and then I got to see him in a Canadian crowd. Now I got to see him in like a European crowd. So
So, what cultural differences do you notice traveling the globe? Like you say, European crowd, Miami crowd.
When I visited the festival in Canada, I felt like the Canadians were really nice people overall as a whole. I mean, I've always been told Canadians are just like really nice people. Coming here to Zurich, kind of noticed like a lot of Swiss people kind of keep to themselves. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just like everywhere you go, the culture is always going to be different. But I definitely notice just differences everywhere I go. And I think it's just really cool because it gives me that perspective and like just more experiences, because that's kind of why I like to travel for all these festivals and all these events, is because I tend to get really bored if I just keep staying in my box, get me more and more out of my comfort zone. So like I'm very all about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I think in that sense, you grow better as a person. Lived that way throughout my whole life. So like just being like comfortable with being uncomfortable, because like, I don't like to be stagnant.
So, how did you find Zurich Open Air? Did you like it? Or would you come back?
I really liked it. I really liked Zurich Open Air. It's not like super, super small, but it's small enough to where if you wanted to go to one stage to another, you're not taking like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to go from one to the other. I also liked that the timetable, the way they did the scheduling, main stage has a break in between. So you have time to go to the other stage and things like that. And I think that helps with crowd control. Because a lot of times I've been to festivals or events where there's just like so many people, and like sometimes people are just so drugged out or drunk where they don't really care about the people around them, and then like they push each other, things like that. So I feel like Zurich Open Air, they know what they're doing with like crowd control in that sense. Also, I thought it was cool, like the bathrooms were great, like even for the basic level. I actually snuck into VIP Friday night. I didn't even know. I didn't even know it was VIP. I'm like, these toilets are great. And then like, yeah, and then I've been in the normal side of the toilets, and it's still great. Like, plenty of food options. So I like that too. Because there's like, seems to be like different types of food, like 2 little stages, or there's actually like a couple little stages to check out. So if you want to like be away from the main crowd, you can go in the little, thing. I definitely would go again. The lineup wise, I think it's really cool, like, because I never been to Coachella, but there's a music festival named Coachella back in California where they do the 2 weekends. So weekend 1, weekend 2, and mostly it's like the same artist playing both weekends, or maybe there's some changes. But Zurich Open Air, it was like 2 weekends. I went weekend 1, obviously, and weekend 1 is very different from weekend 2. Like artist lineup wise, it's very different. So I feel like it's kind of cool because then you get to pick which weekend you want to go to. And then it's also a mixed genre. So there's like the EDM rave stage, and then there's like main stage, which is a mixture of different artists. And then there's like another stage, which is like more rock music. But I thought it was cool because it definitely catered to a lot of age groups. I also noticed or saw some local Zurich acts or local Swiss acts. So I thought that was really cool too.
So, you seem to be satisfied with your journey so far. Maybe you can share some insights from your trip planning.
So I had a budget. So for example, I had a budget for like festival, plane, and accommodations. My budget was around like spending up to $2,000 total. Yeah, plus flights. So it's like flights, tickets, and then accommodation. When I was when I was looking to book for like UK versus Zurich was actually cheaper for me. And also, I know it's a very expensive country, but it worked out for me in my favor.
I was like, you don't see my eyes at this point when Linda says Zurich was cheaper. It's not so often you hear that.
I had to think about in terms of location of where I'm staying because I didn't want to stay too far in case I'm coming home late from the festival and I'm just tired and I'm like, I don't want to wait 2 hours to finally get home and sleep. Gave myself an extra few days to make my trip, like, you know, be able to see the city or like hang out and really experience the culture as well. Yeah, so that's how I plan my trip. I'm like very spontaneous, I'll be honest. Like, I'm a little bit more spontaneous. Some people are more like very big planners. I'm not really a big planner. I'm just more of a, if I want to go to an event, I'm going to buy the ticket. And then I will look at flights to see if the flights are affordable. So, like, for example, I also use Hopper, which is kind of the same thing as Google Flights, where you put in a day and a time, and then you kind of look, and then you can turn on your alerts for both of these apps or these websites. And then it can alert you when they see, like, a price drop. I've noticed Google Flights, like, maybe you're trying to book a flight to go to, I don't know, London. Round trip or something, like you can put in the dates that you plan to go and then it shows you like how much the tickets are around that time and it'll show you like a scale if it's low, middle to like high, and sometimes it'll say like, oh, this is the lowest until this date. And so that's like, it gives you that incentive to like maybe give you like a time frame of when to book that flight by so you can get the cheapest. Hopper kind of works the same way as well. I've done it where as well, like I've booked a one-way flight to somewhere and then I like save up money to book the return flight and then I kind of save money that way too. Like I think it's just playing around with different dates. Also, like when I booked this trip for Zurich, I booked to fly out Tuesday night because it was cheaper to do that, and then fly home Tuesday because it was cheaper to fly home on Tuesday than it is to fly on Monday or like Friday or some other day, you know? So I kind of, yeah. If that checks out, it's great because then accommodations will like, I'll figure that out. So that's kind of how I did it, was just like a little bit more spontaneous. And the good thing is like, I do all this planning by myself, so I don't have to deal with running across info to like somebody else or like another group of friends and like on this group text of like, where do you want to stay? Like
this hotel or this one.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like I don't have anyone's input and it's all my input. Like I could be like, oh, I want to stay here, I want to stay there, or, you know, I want to eat here. And like it's just a lot of spontaneous stuff when you're planning stuff for yourself, you know.
I feel you. Why did you choose my Airbnb?
That's a really great question. Okay, so since I'm a solo female traveler, I've actually felt more comfortable staying with female hosts for Airbnbs in the past. So usually it comes back to the budgeting question as well. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I will stay in a hostel. If I'm not staying with a friend or someone I know, I will stay in a hostel if they have hostel accommodations. Because they're like a lot cheaper, and a lot of times if I'm traveling by myself, I like to like meet people. The reason I chose to stay in your Airbnb, because like again, I felt more comfortable staying with a female host, because I just feel like having another female around is like, females are just more understanding, and like women are just more understanding, more compassionate. So like kind of just, I feel like more safe than staying with some random guy, because like, you know, you never know. Also, your location's great because it's in the middle of the airport and like the city. And I'm kind of at a point in my life where like sometimes I don't feel like staying in downtown the whole time. Like I want to be away from the noise a little bit and like relax and decompress properly. Because like I'm traveling far. I'm not traveling like from the next city over. Like this is kind of more of a long, and like there's also the jet lag and everything else. Also, I really liked the listing. I liked the photos, and I liked that it had everything I needed. Also, I like doing Airbnbs because a lot of times when I'm traveling, I will stay with a friend or someone I know. So I'm basically essentially staying at their house or their place. So I'm used to that feeling of being home away from home. So I feel more comfortable in that way. So that's why I like chose your place, because it felt like that vibe was like, oh, it's like a home away from home. Like ever since I got here, that's what it feels like. I'm like, I live here now. You know, I can't afford living here forever though. Switzerland's really expensive, but yeah, that's kind of why I chose it. And then I do love cats too. I have light cat allergies, but I'm usually fine unless you have like 10 cats running around. Then I'd be like, no. Yeah, good thing you only have two. And I don't know. I just think like you have a lot more open space, and I think it's good, and like the place is clean, and like you're also really top rated on Airbnb. I really do trust the people's ratings.
As a host, I'm also checking carefully whom I let in.
Mm-hmm.
What recommendations would you give to those who want to visit festivals? Like you mentioned that you don't drink alcohol, like to stay up, I don't know, like how to save energy if you are several days on the festival. So something like that, something like insider tips and tricks.
I'm like a very sober raver. I quit drinking last year. So to give a little insight about me, I don't do drugs. That's just not my thing. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like for me, I love the music so much. I've been born, like music is just like inherently in my genetics since the day I was born, or even before I was born, to be honest. And so like I don't need the extra booster or like any of that. So I think that makes me a little bit different than a lot of people, that because I've been there where people judge me because they're like, why are you sober? And it's like, well, why not? Like, I think one of the main things is to stay hydrated. I think a lot of people don't drink enough water. They just think water is this boring liquid, and it's honestly the liquid of life, because we are all made of mostly water. Definitely hydrate. A lot of times I've seen friends or people that go party like way too hard on day one of a festival, or just at the beginning of one. I think people should treat this as a marathon, not a sprint. Because if you treat it like a sprint, you're going for a 3-day festival. There's even some that are 4 or 5. I was supposed to go to one that's like 11 days in Canada, but I didn't go. I switched it to a different Canadian festival. So anyways, yeah, can you imagine if you went through a sprint on the first day and there's like 2 more days of a festival? Like you're gonna die. You're gonna hate yourself at the end or towards the end. It's just like this constant dragging of throughout the next few days. Would like want to tell people like you gotta like really take it easy. You gotta bring your earplugs. They help a lot with hearing loss and tinnitus. For me, I'm going to a show like every other week. Also, if you're a female or you're a woman and there's public toilets, I recommend bringing toilet seat covers. Oh, in regards to like drinking alcohol and water. So since I stopped drinking alcohol last year, I use the bathroom less. Cheaper and more efficient, because like what if you're like in a really good spot of your favorite artist, or like and you don't want to leave to go to the bathroom? Like that helps, because I'm like already sweating it out anyways. So definitely bring your hand sanitizer as well. Bring your sunscreen too. People, you got to wear your sunscreen. Like helps to bring a fan. Carry mine because it gets hot. You get all sweaty, and then like you don't want to overheat and stuff, and maybe you ran out of water and you can't get back to get more water, so like, you know. I actually brought a fan to Zurich Open Air, and that's another thing I noticed about the difference between American and like Zurich culture, maybe European culture in raving is like, in America, we carry a fan, or like a lot of people carry fans, and in here, like nobody carries one. I was maybe one of like 5 people or something in the whole festival that had one. In America, we tend to carry things like totems or like something, and then like a totem is kind of like something like an inflatable animal or like a flag or like something, and people usually go all fun with it and make it like a fun thing and like just something wacky or just whatever, right? And so I think the point is of these things is like it's a part of self-expression, along with like this is how you find your friends. I went to Hard Summer, which is a festival in LA last year, and I brought a flag. I made a John Summit flag. And, you know, sometimes we would separate, we go to the bathroom or something, or somebody wants to go to merch or like some other part, and then we would just meet back. So that's how my friends would find me, because there's so many people, and like, how do you find your friends unless somebody's holding something that like funny or like. Anyways, we used my holographic silver fan at Zurich Open Air, and then one of the guys took his phone and turned the light on to light up the fan, and then that's how you were able to find us.
So, Linda, any other do's and don'ts?
Okay, I think with the don'ts, don't disrespect the people around you. Don't push and shove. Move along with the crowd. No, actually, don't move along with the crowd. Dance with the crowd. Dance along with the crowd. That's how you can get through crowds. Yeah, more things is like, just don't be rude. In America, we have this like phrase like plur, which is peace, love, unity, and respect. And it's kind of like that saying in the rave culture where it's like, we gotta respect each other, you know, it's like the love and all that. Yes. But I feel like you guys have that here. It's already like naturally ingrained, like a bit, you know, like I felt like when we got through the crowds, like people were like nice about it, or we were nice to them about it. Like it was so easy to get to the front of the stage. Do have a good time. Especially if you're going by yourself, like definitely be open to seeing other artists that you wouldn't have wanted to see or that you weren't that interested in seeing, because you never know. That's the thing about live music is like you can go to a random stage and you like the music and you're like, wow, I'm actually a fan of this guy or girl now, you know, and like that's the thing. And then now, you know, now you like listening to their music. So that's what happened to me a lot when I was going to festivals, is like I would just go to like a stage that was just like, oh, it sounds like good music. I don't know who this person is. And then it'd be like, oh, now I'm a fan. And like, yeah, you got to explore. And then like don't be so into like I only listen to this genre of music. Like kind of just be open to seeing other artists and other styles of music, and then you never know. And also you never know, you could meet new friends at somewhere else. Also definitely be open to I guess like meeting new friends and new people. Like for me, everywhere I go, I always meet at least one person at a rave or a festival or something, just because like we already have that commonality and the vibes are there. I do like going with friends, but I don't like going with friends all the time. The reason being is because a lot of times when I go with friends, it depends on the friends that I'm going with. If me and said friends are like really like we're gonna see the same artist that we're like both like huge fans of, like obviously it's gonna be a great time because I'm going with people that like the same exact person, and like we can feed off each other's energy. And now if I'm going with friends that aren't really in the same enthusiastic level as me, I prefer to go by myself by that point. Like I would rather hang out with the like hardcore fans at the show. And then for like traveling, like I definitely like solo traveling for raves a lot more. I don't know. I think it's more fun for me, to be honest. Like, it kind of feeds my soul. It feeds my heart and soul a bit more. Like, me coming to Zurich, it was just more fun for me to like plan everything and like be spontaneous.
If you have something to say and like in one word, in one phrase to convey your message, what would it be?
I would say, if there's an event, or if there's a festival you really want to go to, nobody wants to go with you, you should just do it anyways. Life is all about experiences, right? So if in your heart, deep down, you want to do something, you just kind of have to do it. If you have the means and you can afford it, I think you should do it. It's better to go for the experience and experience it for yourself as opposed to like missing out and regretting it later. So that's kind of my message. And also, like, yeah, and have fun with it. And also, it's your life. You have one life to live, so you may as well live it the way you want to live. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Sasha, for having me on this podcast. That was another segment of the solo traveling podcast.
Thank you so much, Linda, for all these insights and your stories. I hope we see each other next year again.
I'm sure we'll see each other again soon.
Join me on Solo Journeys podcast, where every journey starts with a single step.